theyeshiva.net.
Okay, welcome everybody. Page 4 on the top. Vayikra, it says Vayikra on the top, you see. Vahanafkusa. Yeah, Vahanafkusa. Second line from the top. 4. Daf Beis Amud Gimel. Beis column 3 on the top. Second line. Vahanafkusa, the nafkamin, the difference between Mashi Bisarusa de Lasata Sarusa de Leila. Or Beinei Sarusa de Lasata Nimshach Rak Mitzad Sarusa de Leila. Explained earlier that there's 2 states in Avodas Hashem. One state in Avodas Hashem is Bisarusa de Lasata is the beginning, meaning the person begins with his own toil, his own work, as he put it, Yigiyas Nefesh, Yigiyas Basar, Hamakas Hadas, his Boinenus, Leiv Nishber, 5 components discussed last time. This is all the human initiation of Isarusa de Lasata, which will produce in his soul Gilui Oyer Kirvas Alakim. There will be a certain closeness that he will feel with Hashem, a certain intimacy, a certain Gilui Oyer, a revelation of light that comes of Kirvas Alakim. When a person experiences a certain component of closeness with Hashem, there's a relationship, a feeling of Kedusha. Now that's not a small thing. That's not a small thing for a person to be able to feel Epis Agilui Oyer Kirvas Alakim. I don't have to tell all honest people sitting in this room, but there's people who are religious for 60, 70, 80, 90 years, they don't know what these words mean. Gilui Oyer Benafshay Kirvas Alakim. What are you talking about? Yavai Benafshay, what are you talking about? Let's get it over with. In other words, we become used to the program. It's a program. Everything is routine. You follow a good Jew, you follow the program. But it's a program. Imagine in a marriage, you can have that also. But imagine basically every evening they say, okay, what does the Ksuva say? What do I do tonight? What does the Ksuva say? Oh, you need money for the medical bills? It says in the Ksuva? Okay, here's a check. Okay, now is this? Fine. So you know what it looks like, yeah? So with Hashem it's the same. Okay, the Ksuva says Maidav, fine, we'll do Maidav. Mincha, and if you can knock off Mincha Maidav, in winter, Samachaya, a guy told me 3:40 p.m. He says he's after Maidav, he have vacation, till Vasikin. He says, Samachaya, where do you have in Orthodox Judaism 16, 17 hours without God? It's like, there's no, Amachaya. Imagine your wife tells you the next 17 hours we're not married. Hey, klaps a cup and you could do this every night, a whole winter. It's the that feeling, you'll see the enthusiasm during Maidav of Plag is moidedik. It's Atshmei Hashemayim. You ever see the Maidav of Plag in the winter? The oil melts away from ecstasy. It's mamash like Ma'ayin Olam Haba. The Giluyar, we're almost done. We're almost done. Another 3-4 minutes. The Kavana Mincha, they're still a little bored. But once Maidav hits, woo! The feeling of... So, he's talking here about Yavei Benafshi Giluyar Kirvas Alakim. When you have a relationship where you feel actually the other person, you feel love, it's a whole different experience. So that's one. Then there is another madrega, and that is Hispilus Benefesh without hachana. Sometimes Sarusa de La'ela that comes from above, that initiates the relationship, and the person doesn't even prepare for it. In fact, he may not know where it came from. He says suddenly a person in the middle of davening or in the middle of the day feels a surge of closeness to Hashem. Something opens, some awareness, some emotion, some high, some hisayrus, an inspiration, a feeling happens. And he doesn't even know why. And he says, one thing you do know, it's going to finish soon. It's going to be over. But what is the kavana? Kavana is to use the Sarusa de La'ela to inspire Sarusa de Lasat. So in both, there's a combination. Either it starts with one or it starts with the other. But the kavana, if it starts with Sarusa de Lasata, to bring a Sarusa de La'ela. Hashem responds to people. If it starts with Sarusa de La'ela, the kavanah is to bring the Sarusa de L'Sata. It says, but Vanafkusa, the difference between Masha be Sarusa de L'Sata, Sarusa de La'ela, or Bene Sarusa de L'Sata, Nimshachrak Mitzad the Sarusa de La'ela. The difference between these two is Shekar Sheyesh is Sarusa de L'Sata Mamish, Ayidei Gias Nefesh. When you have Mamish is Sarusa de L'Sata, what does it mean Mamish? Mamish means it didn't, you didn't respond. You initiated.
Primary Sarusa.
Yeah, you're the primary party. You're the shuttif who started the transaction, so to speak. So it's Sarusa de L'Sata Mamish. It's not that you responded, you're reciprocating, you're giving back. You're like, okay. It's not okay. You Mamish began the process through your own Yigiyas Nefesh, your own work. Then it's something that can endure for good. Because the Sarusa de La'ela was a response to the Sarusa de L'Sata. So the way it expresses itself in the soul is in a very internalized fashion, in a pnimiyistic way. Pnimiyis means it's internal. Because his heart first prepared for it. It opened up for it. So therefore, what happens now is the Sarusa de La'ela, that's a response to the Sarusa de L'Sata, empowers him. It gives koyach, strength, and ois, power to his soul to continue. There should be another and higher Sarusa de L'Sata. It motivates him that he should continue the avodah yet in a deeper way. Why? Because the Sarusa de La'ela was a response to Sarusa de L'Sata, so therefore it found an open place. It found a nest where to go into. The person was open. It wasn't just a helicopter came and lifted him up. A spaceship comes in and sweeps him over the earth and makes him fly. No. He climbed, and he climbed and climbed and climbed. But as much as you climb, the relationship has to go two ways. So when a Jew does a Sarusa de L'Sata Hashem, there's a response from Hashem. There's going to be some type of Kirvas Elikim. But this Kirvas Elikim is responding to you. It finds a heart that's on fire already. It finds a heart that's ready. It finds eyes that are looking out. So therefore it becomes internalized in it. It becomes entrenched in it. And it gives the person tremendous koyach to continue on that journey the next day, the next week, etc. But if there was no Yigiyas Nefesh, if there was no toil of the soul, and there was no toil of the flesh, and remember, he emphasizes both things because it's two different stages in Avodah. Yigiyas Basa means you're in control of your body. Yigiyas Nefesh means you deal with your mind. It's two different Avodas. Yigiyas Basa means to work with your flesh, with your physical flesh. Person who's not in control of what's happening with their body, how they live in terms of their material life, it's very, very difficult for them to experience the divine. But that's not enough. That's half of the work. And then Yigiyas Nefesh is that I have to be able to work with my mind, with my soul, with my inner personality. The basar is the outer, the physical body, and then there's Yigiyas Nefesh.
What is he talking about? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
So if when a person doesn't have this, rak, but there was an arousal, his soul was triggered from a ha'ara. Ha'ara again here is a wake-up call. Ha'ara with an ayin. From the word hisoiriri, hisoirirus. Hisoirirus means arousal, waking up. Ma'oirir yishenim. Right? Ma'oirir yishenim, waking up. Ha'ara, wake up. And afterwards, you didn't do the work of really preparing your heart. Before, you for sure didn't do it. And afterwards also not. In other words, you fly with inspiration.
Why did it happen?
It's an invitation. It's an invitation.
It's a gift.
I don't know what the word luck means. The word luck is just it's not a word. There's no such a word. There's no such a thing as luck.
It's love, not luck. Love of Hashem. Right.
Yeah, but there's a moment in life Hashem says, I want to be with this person. I want everyone. He didn't prepare his heart, not before. And not even lo eider achakach nafshay hinei yuchal liyas choyle v'oivedai spilos. So the hispilos, the emotion, hispilos comes from the word pu'ula. That's the difference between there's an intellectual experience and an emotional experience. Intellectual is a person remains cold, cool, collective, more detached, cerebral. Emotions are hispilos. You say, "Was chapst hispilos?" He's chapt hispilos. It affects you. It's transformative. So he says, yes, but it's choyle v'oiver. It passes. Like a brand. It's a breeze. It passes. Ve'ein lo kiyum. And it's possible that it should not endure at all. In other words, it comes and it goes. And it goes. Keboiloi kach ba'altoi. It goes. Why? Ki be'istalei ka'orel yoyna zu she'ena mirid beis rotzen. When this ha'arel yoyna, this light from above departs, because eina mirid beis rotzen, it's a special moment called an eis rotzen. It could be an eis rotzen in the calendar. It could be an eis rotzen in your own life. It could be whatever the eis is that makes it a special time. There was a light that came in. When the light goes away, azai hoya keloi hoya haispilus. The word is hoya keloi hoya. It was like it never was, even though it was. Why? Because the whole reason it happened was only because there was a shine from above. So the light is gone. The love that came from it, the inspiration that came from it is gone. Because there was nothing that you added to it. It was just, you were riding on the high. The moment the high is over, you fall, there's nothing there.
Every Jew can experience that even if they don't keep anything.
Yeah. But this, there's no achana. It can happen to any person. It happens.
Riding the wave.
You ride the wave. Huh? As long as you got the wave, it's great. You're in the sailboat, as long as the wind is blowing, I'm a chaya, you're flying.
So why don't we see is one day secular Jews should get up and go to shul?
If you work with secular Jews, they have it a lot more than religious Jews sometimes.
But what strong words, as I shekilo haya hispalus. Very powerful words.
Yeah. Haya kaloi haya
You shouldn't
hispalus.
think there was anything Roshan left behind.
Yeah. It's like kaloi haya.
Did they let us go? Because they had the power to fight it out.
Sometimes it leads people on very heavy journeys, different types of journeys.
But those who do not, they just go on with their lives. They just push it away.
Yeah. So bistalakar ptei lavish nestayif memena. And this is the vart. This is the vart of isarusa de laela without isarusa de lasata. V'zeu inyan. This is the deeper explanation. The Gemara says in Maseches Nida. Rashi brings it on the pasuk. Isha ki sazriya v'yolda zachar. When a woman conceives and she gives birth to a male. So the Gemara, Ish mazriyat chila yeladis nekeva. Ish mazriyat chila yeladis zachar. Famous piece of Gemara. When a man is mazriyat chila, when he, so to speak, germinates first, so the result is a female is born, a girl is born. Isha mazriyat chila, the woman is mazriyat chila yeladis zachar. So whatever the explanation is biologically, here he explains it al piruchnias. Ish and Isha represents Hashem and the Jew. Ish Mazriyat Tchila means God starts the relationship. Isha Mazriyat Tchila means you start the relationship. You start the flow, you start the inspiration, you start the intimacy. So he says, Ish Mazriyat Tchila Yeledis Nekeva. V'noshim Daitan Kalos. The Gemara says, Noshim daitan kalos, meaning their das can be swayed. The das is light. So v'tuchal, so it's a metaphor. V'tuchal is patis achirat chila l'tayvas oil. So even though by davening you had this major flow of inspiration, after davening it's all over. You see a taiva of the world, and it's all over. 10 minutes ago, you were completely on a spiritual high, and you had a certain way you looked at the world. That was 10 minutes ago.
It's in a kevedik davening. That's what you're saying.
The Yoledes, the child, is a Noshim Daitan Kalos.
Speed will be in the cave.
Yeah. Avolim Isha Mazras Tchila, but if it starts with the Isha, Liyas be Sarusa de Lasate, Sarusa de Laela. It starts off with Isha Mazras Tchila, Aza Yeleda Zocher, Shu Das Chazak Ba'avoida. It's a Das Chazak in Avoida. A woman by nature is very, very emotional, extremely emotional and sensitive person. The Alter Rebbe teaches Likkutei Torah B'Haloischa, Noshim Daitan Kalos, positive. Their das is light. It goes up. It goes up easy. It's not so terrestrial. It goes up easy. But here he's teaching up Pshat in the Gemara. The Gemara discusses Noshim Daitan Kalos. It can be swayed. There's a deep emotional sensitivity there. A man is expected to have a das chazak, to be able to make a decision and stick to the decision with a lot of decisiveness. Like everything in life, and everything, there could be a mile, there could be a chesaron. It could become a stubborn mule too. But the idea of das chazak is there's a firmness that doesn't change. There's a certain firmness that doesn't change. A woman has a certain emotional vulnerability that makes her pliable. You know what pliable means? There's a softness. Okay, you have neshamas, sometimes women on neshamas the duchra and males on neshamas the nukva, but that's a separate inyan. So what is this in Avodas Hashem? If it starts off with Ish Mazriyat Chila, Isarusa de La'ela, the Ish, Yoledes Nekeva. The result is going to be that your relationship, your ruchnius, is with Kalos. Meaning it's here, and then an hour later, a day later, it's all over. You're in a completely different position. You're swayed. Why? Because there's a stronger emotion that takes you in, chaps you in. If it's Isha Mazras Tchila, if the woman begins, then you let the Zachar. Zachar is a das chazak ba'avoida. And then he gives two ma'armakamis. Ay mashakasav me'inyin ish mazriyat chila soif dibin amaschal hoya mispeh b'nei yisrael gabe baskel machrezes mashakasav b'dibin amaschal sois tosses v'sagal akara, which we actually learned the Maimon Likkutei Torah Tazriya.
But this is I mean, I'm not understanding. It almost seems like he's contradicting himself. Here, if you look at his words, he's basically saying, like this Jerusalem isn't worth a whole lot, because it's going to leave you with an Akevadik type of Avodas Hashem, and it's fleeting, etc. Whereas before, on the first page, he said, this Jerusalem can give you the reciprocal Yisrael without the Yasbasa that came before them.
No, you're right. That's why he added, he said, that if it's Nis'oyer Nafsha, de ha'arim al-mayla v'loy heichin liba la'oyer achar kach nafshay. He didn't respond. Loy heichin liba la'oyer achar kach nafshay. Before, he didn't do anything. And afterwards, he didn't internalize. Loy heichin liba achar kach, la'oyer achar kach nafshay. So now all you have is the ha'ara from above.
So the nafkusa isn't really between Isarusa Le'ila and Isarusa Latata. It's between Isarusa Le'ila where you do prepare yourself for what results and where you don't prepare yourself for results.
It's about the response, how you respond.
But Isarusa Latata we've been using meaning the where it started. Here he's saying even if you didn't start with Isarusa Latata,
you could later, which he's going to say now. V'zeu hasiba. This is the reason. There's a fascinating expression now. V'zeu hasiba. This is the reason l'masha koivlim es atzmam balei ha'avoida. This is the reason koivlim means lament. In Yiddish, mekloktzich. Mekloktzich, they lament, they cry. Who? The balei ha'avoida. Balei ha'avoida is an expression that he uses for people who are masters in avodas Hashem. And they came to the Balatanya, and they cried. What did they cry? Al hayois b'hem ruach tarev yis'oirus la'avodas Hashem al kamer shavuas v'achach p'sekas legamri. People, they had a ruach of Tara, a spirit of purity, that almost like overtook them. It was like a wind of Tara, of Kedusha, that breezed through their system. And his Avodas Hashem, for a few weeks they had it. That's not a short time. A few weeks they were flying high. And then one day they wake up dead, numb, lifeless. They couldn't care less. They're completely apathetic. So they came and they're Bali Avoida. Bali Avoida means serious people. Bali Avoida. They're people who are dedicated to Avoida. He says, let me explain. The reason is they made a mistake. They thought they did something. They didn't do anything. This Isidus came from above. The moment this Harusa de Leila is gone, he remains in his stature, in his state of mind, in his nature. And he was actually never inspired. You go back to what was. This is, I told a story about the Reb Aaron of Karlin, Reb Aaron HaGadol of Karlin. Reb Aaron of Karlin was a student of the Maggid of Mezrich. Together with the Balatanya, he was by the Maggid of Mezrich. Reb Aaron of Karlin was a fireball. He was a fireball of inspiration. He once asked the Balatanya about the Yirah Shamayim, if he could describe the Yirah Shamayim of Reb Aaron of Karlin. So he said that if somebody is taken by the Tsar, they were then under the Tsars. So he says if somebody is taken to the firing squad, they're going to shoot him. And they set him up, they put him and they blindfold him, and the executioner is standing, and he pulls the trigger, whatever they had then, and he's about to shoot. He says the pachad that the person feels, that was the type of Yirah Shamayim that Reb Aaron Karlin had when he was in a state of moichen de katnos, meaning when he was in a very low state. That was his level of Yirah Shamayim. So they asked the Alter Rebbe, and what was his level of Yirah Shamayim when he had moichen de gadlus? He says, you won't understand.
You can't say the first part.
You won't understand, so he wouldn't say. So a Yid came to the Aaron Karlin, a very, very fascinating story. It's brought in the Karlin Svarim I saw. He came to the Baron of Karlin. Wo is Potash from Medafim haben? Should you put him? So
He got his flight, took off.
the flight finally took off. So he came to the Baron of Karlin, and he said, last time you were in the B'chin of Adal Yada, now hopefully you could be in the B'chin of Yada, the story. So this is the Lasata, yeah. And he said he was a Yid, he was a Bal Tshuva. And he said when he started his journey in Avodas Hashem, he was very inspired. He was like Shabbos, he loved davening, he had a geschmack in Amen Yesh Mirabah, he had enthusiasm in a mitzvah. In a mitzvah. He says now, it's 20 years later or a few decades later, and he's just bored, it's routine, monotonous, it's just shallow, there's nothing happening. What happened? So Aaron of Karlin told him there's a pasuk in Koheles, fascinating pasuk. Al toimar, al ma yamim arishonim ayutoivim me'ela, ki loy meichachma sha'alta al zeh. Shloima HaMelech criticizes people who always say the same thing in every drasha. The good old days. The good old days. When ich bin gewen a kind, or when your brother was in yeshiva, or when dein Tate, you ever heard that? When dein Tate is gewen in yeshiva, or Far the Krieg, the best is Far the Krieg, before the war. Before the war, when everybody was impeccable, perfect, and holy. Until Jews started to sin approximately in the 1980s when you were born. The day when you were born, where everything went sour. The whole world went crazy because you were born. Everything stopped. All the miracles also stopped. Yeah. So why were the old days better? It's not a question coming from wisdom. That's the pasuk. Which may mean Ashayla is this, but it's not from Chachma. It's not from Chachma. It's not from Bittul. But the Baron Karlin said, let me tell you a deeper pshat in the pasuk. He told him a mashal. The mashal was, Bekitza, there were two Yidden who were paupers. They were very poor. And there was a wealthy Jew. He felt bad, so he called them both in, gives them each 50,000 ruble, and he says, go make a life for yourself. One man took the money, he was thankful, he cherished it. The little bit he needed for basic food and for used. And he started to slowly use some money to invest here, buy here, sell here, buy. And he started to make up a little profit. He had something to work with. And the little profit he made, he used for the basic expense. He made a little more profit. He started to make a little more. He started to put away. He fixed his house, he bought shoes for the kids, bought a little food. He was very careful, and he invests, and he starts getting successful. And he remembers always that he has to pay back the debt. So he puts away, and what happens? After 2-3 years, he builds himself up. He's already fine. And he put away so much he could pay back the debt. And he comes back with simcha and he gives him the 50,000 ruble. And the Jew says, I'm so inspired by what you did. Keep it. I don't need the money. Keep it. Grow your business more. Become a real success story. Right? Says the other guy got 50,000 ruble. And the first thing is, he bought shishi, bought mafta bought psicha by Neili, became the honoree by the dinner, he became Rabban Shal Kol Bnei Agoyla, he got a seat in Mizrach, he bought the nicest house, he bought the nicest levushim, he renovated his house into a man, everything, his children had to dress like Bnei Melachim. By the time the year was over, the guy had not a ruble left. He comes back to the Gvir, he says he needs more. He says, not only am I giving you more, I want every ruble back. I don't care how, I want every dollar back. Atkan. The Baron of Kalin said, a Jew starts Avodas Hashem, Hashem wants to bring him in. So he shows him the beauty of it. So he sends him a Ruach Tara. He gives him a loan. The loan is Kesef and Zav. Kesef is Ava. Nichsef, Nichsafti. Zav is Yira, Eish, Red, Gvura, Yira. Kesef and Zav. And this is a mashal from the Baal Shem Tov. They have restaurants. I don't know how frequent they are today, but I remember I was learning once in Boston. They had their restaurant. You walked in, and you taste from everything. They have those things, yeah. You go and every dish you take something, you taste it. So there was a Yid, Baal Shem Tov, a Yid walked in, and he sees everybody is tasting for free. So he takes a big plate, and he fills up everything, and he eats, and then he takes another plate. He finishes. It was a toyameh for a few weeks. And then he leaves. The owner starts saying, Ganev, where you going? He says, what do you mean? Everybody's eating for free. He says, no. Everybody takes a spoon or two just to entice them. The moment you want to have a full meal, this you have to pay. So the Baal Shem Tov told this to a Yid. When you come into the restaurant, Hashem wants to entice you. So he gives you some free food. Once you want to make a full plate, you have to pay. So the Baron of Kalin says, you start your journey. Hashem gave you a big loan. What's the kavanah of the loan? Isarusa de la'ela is for Isarusa de la'sata. To generate your own revenue. You take the money. You make money that belongs to you. Doesn't belong to him. And you know what happens? You give back the loan and just keep it. Like he says here, the Isarusa de la'ela motivates more Isarusa de la'sata. He says, and then another person takes the loan and he forgets that it's a loan. He thinks it's his own money. So he treats it like his own. He just flies with it. He doesn't realize it's a temporary loan. And what happens? The time is up and he's left with nothing. He never made it his own. So he said, this is Pshat in the Pasuk. Al toimar al mai yamim arishonim ayutoivim me'ela. Don't come to me and say, in the good old days I was inspired. Ki loi mei chachma. It wasn't your own chachma that generated the inspiration. Sha'alta alza. Sha'alta from the word shoyel, she'ela. You borrowed it. Loi mei chachma. It wasn't your chachma. Sha'alta alza. You borrowed it. It wasn't yours. It was she'ela. So it was vilstu. So you don't have it anymore. It's not your loan. It was not your money. It was a loan. A loan you give back. Loi mei chachma sha'al talza. Yamim Rishayna. So the Balei Avodah came and said, for a few weeks they were flying high with Yiddishkeit. They were mamish on fire. They were mamish inspired. And then boom, it's all over. So Koiv l'malatzmam, he says, you have to understand the dynamics. Dynamics where you were never high. You were never inspired. There was a wind that blew and it schlepped you away. A plane, you get on a plane and the plane is flying. You're not flying. The plane is flying. The plane is going to land. You're not flying. You were swept away on the wings. On the wings of the eagle. So it felt like you were flying. You were. But you have to remember it was a Ruach Tara. The Ruach Tara ended. You're back with Amdei V'Tivoi. This is your natural state. You don't have to get upset. This is what you have to deal with. This was Isarusa de la'ela.
This can go by from a Rebbe too, right?
Of course. Any Isarusa de la'ela. Tzadikim doimon l'bayram, yeah.
How about a person, a regular person?
I don't understand the question.
Can a regular person cause that to another person?
Well, why not? Sometimes, yeah. 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 Ah, that's the next shtickle. That's the next shtickle. First thing, you have to understand the dynamic. You have to understand the concept. He said the Baalei Avodah were very upset. They were hurt. In other words, they felt that there was like a zakaf hakela. It was a very horrible experience. Like, what's going on? Are they lying? Are they not lying? Are they honest? Are they dishonest? They're inspired. They're not. One day azoy, one day azoy. He says, relax. You have to understand who you are. You have to understand there was an Eis Rotzen. You were given a Ruach Tara. It's gewaldig. You were overwhelmed by it. You were blown away by it. But you were blown away. The wind stopped blowing.
How does the gated to know when is a Sista Sata, when is Sista Laila?
No, it's not a problem. When you're not inspired, this is not a challenge.
No, he's asking.
When you're not inspired, it's time for Sista Sata.
Inspired, I know where it comes from.
Well, if there was no Sista Sata, real Sista Sata before,
If I lay the stick and hit the Namen high for them, that's not.
What's the chiluk? That's the question. Either way, you got to take it.
Take advantage unless Sista Sata getting
if there was Yegias Nefesh by you, Yegias Basar, Hamakas Adas, his Baininus, and Lev Nishbar, there was Sista Sata. So do the checklist. V'zeu Adam ki Yakriv Mikem. Hamakas Hadas, his Baininus and Lev Nishbar. Yeah, that's what he says.
I'm just thinking about something.
No.
No.
Most people are thinking about something. They're just not ready to say what. Yeah.
Ringing in my head, So some people, there's a time, when they're making a lot of money and they can give a lot, and then things change.
Yeah.
So in the world of people who collect money, there's a saying, you are as good as your last check. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. You're as good as your last check, huh?
Yeah. And if there is nothing, then...
Yeah. V'zeu, this is the pshat. Adam ki Yakriv Mikem. Back to the pasuk. Adam ki Yakriv Mikem Karban Lashem. Said mina beheim and mina bakur and mina tzoin takrivu as karbanchem. Ki hinei b'chines Adam. Ki hinei b'chines Adam u'kamay shekasav ad mus hakisid mus k'marei Adam. When it says Adam, there's the Adam down here, man. There's also the Adam Yecheskel Hanavi speaks about on top of the throne. There's the image Kemare Adam Alav Milmaila. He saw Kevayachal Hashem as an Adam. What is the meaning? Ki be'emes lav mikol ilain midois iyu kla. As the Zohar says, the truth is Hashem does not consist of midois at all. Meaning, to define God as a persona, as we learned in the previous Maimer, when we're learning about the Bechina of Adam and beyond Adam, about the Sharvit HaZahav, doesn't consist of midas at all. Elosh mislabish be'esesfiris. It's like almost he enclothes himself in the persona of 10 attributes. V'nikrayim ramache varim the malka. They're called 248 organs of the king. Kedei lahoyer ayideizel l'neshamas yisrael l'chaloylamas. Through these ramache varim, through these 10 spheres, he casts the light on all souls and all the worlds. V'azay nikra kamara adam, and then he's called kamara adam. In other words, kevayachal, he has the mara adam. What does this mean? It means when the Ein Sof articulates within himself 10 characteristics through which he chooses to create, sustain, and vitalize the universe. Then he's called Kamara Adam. He has the image Kavayachal of Adam. Why? We speak about Eses Sviris, Hashem's Chachma, Bina, Chesed. What do we speak about? Ramache Varim the Malka. It says in Zohar, there are 248 organs of the king. Each mitzvah is an Aver the Malka. Aver the Malka. Yeah, there's no body, there's no organs of the king, but there's, so to speak, a persona. Each organ carries another element of our physique, of our physical self, and of our personality. The ayin represents one koyach, the eye represents one koyach of the soul, and of course the nose, it's and the ears. Everything has a certain capacity of the soul that is expressed through it. So each mitzvah draws down from a certain, so to speak, divine energy called an aver of a melech. In Kabbalah, there's a concept called Shir Kaima of Yotze Bereishis. In Sefer Haboyer by Reb Nechunya ben Akana, one of the earliest forms of Kabbalah, he speaks about Shir Kaima of Yotze Bereishis, the height of the Creator. It's a Shir Kaima. What, you're measuring him? You're putting him on a scale. What's Shir Kaima Shel Yotze Bereishis? So Shir Kaima means that's the Mada Adam. So now there's a few Mada Mekaimas. Val zen nemar Adam ki Yakriv. Now this is what Adam. Adam here is not Adam down here. It's the Adam Ha'elya. So now it's Pshat. Adam ki Yakriv hainu hamshachas isarusa de la'elim b'chinas Adam Ha'elya. Lahakriv leiva Adam shalamata Hashem. Adam ki Yakriv means when the Adam Ha'elya, when Hashem decides He wants to be makriv, He wants to bring close the Adam Atachtim. Hashem wants a relationship. The Adam Ha'elyon ki Yakriv. He wants to bring close the Adam Atachtim. K'may shekosov kamayim aponim leponim kein leiva Adam el Adam. Shlomo HaMelech says in Mishlei, like the face we show to the water, and the water shows us back that face. Kamayim aponim leponim. The face that I show into the mayim mirrors that face back to me. Kein leiva Adam la Adam. The heart that I show you, you mirror back to me. Which, like the Balatanya says in Tanya Perik Memvav, the reason that there's some people, you like them, you don't know why. It ever happened? There's somebody, you see them, and you know that you love them, you don't know why. The answer is, Kamayim aponim leponim. Because he loves you. When somebody loves you, you have no choice but to love them. It's like a mirror. You can't stand in front of the mirror and tell the mirror, don't show me my face. It's a metzias. If I have a certain emotion to you, that emotion is going to come back to me. It's a given. It's a truth. It's not a bchira. It's almost bal karcha. In fact, one of the eitzes that's brought in Sifrei Chassidus, if somebody hates your guts, yeah, so one eitzah is to kill them. Another eitzah is to hate them back, but those are normal eitzahs. The real eitzah is, if you could somehow discover the capacity to love them, they will almost be forced to love you beyond their choice. Why? It's like a mirror. Kain leiva adam al adam. The face I show you, the heart I show you, it comes back to me. That heart comes back to me. The heart is a mirror. Kain leiva, when you truly love somebody, they're going to love you back. Of course, there's always a yotzim and a klal, people who, whatever, they can transcend their hearts or kill their hearts. But that's the point, Kain leiva adam al adam. B'meila... V'ayin mashakasa b'bir al pasuk achrei Hashem elokechem telechu binyin pirish b'shakaf aleim har. This is kaf aleim har kegigis. Shu amshachas aver rabbe mil mayla shaydezim memelin is eriru gamkin ba'aver rabbe. This is the mountain. The mountain represents a mountain of love that he exploded with love to them, and therefore they had to respond with love. And that's why it's called kafa. They were, so to speak, forced because there was too much love. When you see so much love, what are you going to do? Hate? You can't hate. Too much. By Matan Torah, what's Pshat? Jews were forced into the relationship. They were forced through the infinite love. This is kamayim aponim leponim. And therefore, v'zehu ki yakriv mikem. Mikem mamish. She yakriv es nefesh adam shalamata la Hashem. Can't say adam mikem ki yakriv. If it would say adam mikem ki yakriv, the pasuk would sound like the literal meaning only. A person from among you is makriv. He wants to bring out adam ha'elya. So he says, Adam ha'elyon ki yakriv. When he wants to be makriv, who does he want to be makriv? Mikem karbon Hashem, she yakriv nefesh Adam shalamata Hashem, v'lachein amar tevis mikem achar imre ki yakriv. That's why he has to say mikem after. V'lo yomar Adam mikem ki yakriv. He doesn't say Adam mikem. Why? She'im kein haya pirush raki pshute levach Adam agash mishalamata yakriv. If we would have said Adam mikem ki yakriv, the only way to explain the pasuk would be literally, a person from among you who wants to be makriv a carbon. By saying Adam ki yakriv mikem, he's teaching you that there's a second carbon we're talking about. And that is Adam ha'elyon, Hashem, wants to be makriv one of you. The Adam down here, he wants to bring close. V'lechein nemar ki Yakriv loshen yachid. The koy al Adam ha'elyon shu echad. That's why it can't say it loshen rabim. He's speaking about Adam ha'elyon, he's one, ki Yakriv. Al derech ma shekasuv b'rabis and medrash rabba, al pasuk hein ha'adam ha'ya ka'achad mimenu in Bereshis. Ki yechidoy shel oilam, the medrash says. Who's achad mimenu? Adam is going to be like Achad Imenu, like one of us is the one of us. Yichid Hainu K'may Pchinas Adam Elyon. V'acha kach nemar. So now the pasuk says, remember the pasuk. Adam ke Yakriv mikem karban laShem. On Adam ha'elyon Hashem, when he wants to bring you close, ki Yakriv karban laShem, he wants to Adam ke Yakriv mikem. He wants to be makriv from you. He wants to bring you close. What's the next state? Mina behema, mina bakar, mina tzoin takrivas karabanchem. V'achechlem mina behema chuli takrivas karabanchem. Zel b'chinas hakarban sha'adam shalamata Yakriv. This is now what you bring. V'lechein nemar takrivu loshen rabim. V'yakayal b'nei Yisrael. He now shifted from the first carbon, Misarusa de Leila, which was Hashem. He's bringing you close. Takrivu. Now what you, the Jewish people, have to bring. The first pasuk, the opening of Vayikra, is an Eitzah Toiva. It's good advice of Hashem. What's the advice? Shemiyad be'eis rotzen zeh, asher nimshach melmailis oiridus lahoiris nefesh ha'adam, take it from miyad. Taschilu atem gamkin laoiridus arusa de lasata gamkin, dahainu le'kafyu le'hapches midis nefesh ha'bahamis, v'inyin takrivu es karbanchem shumen ha'behemim en ha'bakis le'kamon. That's the Eitzah. Adam ki Yakriv mikem karban Hashem. When you're feeling that the Adam ha'elyon wants to bring you closer to him, how? Because you're feeling a moment of inspiration of Hisayrus. He says, don't ride the wave. Ride away. Min ha'behema, min ha'baka, min ha'tzoin. You got to right away go to your animal. Because that, if you don't deal with that, you're wasting everything. Why? Because the Yakriv is going to end after a few weeks. Show is over. And what are you left with? The Zelba Behema. Zelba Behema. So right away, Mina Behema, Mina Baka, Mina Tzoyin. That's what he says, Kedala Kamani is going to explain all these pchinas. But you're right away going into your animal soul. You're working with the midas of your nefesh habahamas. Iskafia and ishapcha, takrivu es karbanchem. This is Loshen Rabim. This explains why Adam ki Yakriv is Loshen Nister. He answered all the questions. Adam ki Yakriv is third person. He, not you. It's Hashem. It's Loshen Yachid. Mikem is in the wrong place because he wants to be meramis that it's also the carbon of the human soul that he wants to bring you closer, and then he shifts from Hashem to the Jewish people and he's giving an eitzah. Right away, don't ride that wave alone. Now you have to bring your carbon. You have to create your Yisarus Lasata, which means you got to go into your flesh. You got to go into your behemoth to be makrivas karbanchem, as he shall explain.
So even though he extolled the virtue,
in the beginning of the Maimer, Adam Ki Yakriv, the Balatanya asked three questions. Remember on the first pasuk, three major questions. The first one was, the pasuk says, Daber al bnei Yisrael v'amarta aleihem, Adam Ki Yakriv mikem karban ladeinoi min habehema min habakar min hatzayin takrivu es karbanchem. Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, a man who will offer from among you an offering to Hashem, from the cattle, from the mammals, from the cattle, from the sheep, you shall offer your sacrifice, your carbon. And he asked three questions. Question number one had to do with the fact that in the beginning of the pasuk, he begins third person. The end of the pasuk is in second person. Adam ki Yakriv, a man, when he will be makriv. In other words, I'm not talking to this man. I'm talking a scenario that's going to relate to the Jewish people for now and for all the generations. Adam ki Yakriv, but at the end of the pasuk, suddenly it's takrivu es karbanchem, not yakrivu es karbanam, takrivu es karbanchem. Suddenly you're speaking to the people right in front of you. Question number one. Question number two had to do with Loshen Yachid, Loshen Rabim, in addition to the fact that he shifts from third person to second person, what's called in diktuk, from nister to noichach. Nister means concealed, noichach means present in front of you, l'noichach. He also shifts, guf shlishi, l'umat guf sheni, yeah. Takrivu is a guf sheni, takrivu, okay? Atem takrivu, et karbanchem, et karboncha, yeah? Takriv et karboncha is a guf sheni, lo guf shlishi. Adam ki yakriv, or bnei Adam ki yakrivu is guf shlishi, lashon nister. In addition, there's a shift from Yachid to Rabbim. First you're speaking about one individual, suddenly you're speaking about a tzibur, many individuals. Either you could say, Bnei Adam ki yakrivu, or Anoshim ki yakrivu, Bnei Yisrael ki yakrivu, and then you could finish, Takrivu es karbanchem, or you could say, Adam ki yakriv, yeah, Takriv es karbancha. In addition to the first question, you start off with Adam ki yakriv, and then you go, Takrivu es karbanchem, Takrivu, not Adam ki yakriv. Question number 2. Question number 3 was, the word mikem is completely misplaced. Adam mikem ki yakriv karban Hashem. Even if you needed the mikem, which itself seems superfluous, which is why Chazal have a lot to say on this pasuk, but it's completely misplaced. Adam ki yakriv mikem, Adam mikem ki yakriv karban Hashem. Those are the 3 questions. In Torah's Kayanim, it's quoted in Rashi, there's a lot of medrash on this pasuk, meaning a lot, I don't mean medrash haggadah, I mean halachas, a lot of halachas that are learnt out from this pasuk, because whenever psukim were written with grammatical challenges, each word contains limudim and drashas and hilchas karbanas. Rashi brings a lot of them. The first pasuk, this pasuk is a loaded pasuk in terms of halacha. Here the Maimed of Balatani explains it, al derech hasoid, al derech hanister, al derech hachsidus. In order to explain the concept, he immediately delved into the fact that every person operates on 2 levels of consciousness. We have a divine soul and we have an animal soul. He also explained the fact that both of them are ultimately rooted in holiness. Both of them are rooted in divine energy. The Nefesh Elokis is rooted in what's called Pchinas Adam, Vayikra es Adam betzalmoi, the Tzelem Elikim, which is the Dmus Adam on the Kisei, and it comes through the Pnei Adam of the Merkava, as explained. The Nefesh HaBahamis is rooted in the Pnei Shoyd of the Merkava, it comes through the Shmarei Haifanim, and he established that the Tachlis of the Neshama coming down into this world was to refine and work with the animal soul, both in the terms of Iskafia and Ishapcha, especially during davening, but before, that's the point of Ahavtas Hashem Elokecha B'chol Levavcha, but before that you need the brachas of Krishma, which allows you to trace the animal soul back to its source. This act of elevating the animal soul creates Isarusa de La'ela, which is Reyach Nichoyach LaHashem, Kevayachal, an aroma, an expression of closeness from Hashem's side. That's one form of Avodah. And then he said there's another form where Isarusa de La'ela comes first. And he started to discuss the 2 types experience of Avodas Hashem. One is where your Isarusa de La'asata triggers Isarusa de La'ela. One is Isarusa de La'ela begins, and hopefully afterwards you will create Isarusa de La'asata to respond to that. The difference, of course, is that when you begin the Isarusa de La'asata, so the Isarusa de La'ela already found an open nest, an open heart, it will remain, it will endure. And on the contrary, it will increase, it will motivate even a deeper Isarusa de La'asata. When it begins with Isarusa de La'ela, unless you internalize it afterwards and you work to make it your own, you can't expect it to stay. Why? Because you were never inspired. There was an inspiration from above that swept you away. It consumed you. But you were not inspired. The you has not been awakened. The you has not awakened. The you has been awakened. The you has not been transformed. There was no dent in the you. And that's why he said the Balei Avodah lament that for weeks they were spiritually high and then it's all gone. And he says you have to understand the dynamics. They were not spiritually high. There was a Ruach Tara that overwhelmed them. It got them. It triggered them. They were in an ambiance of holiness. But that ruach is gone, and therefore they go back to their natural state. And their natural state is their natural state. That's a good question. What is the you? Is it the Nefesh HaBa'amis? So that we're going to discuss today, Be'ezer Hashem. So that's the key idea here. At the end of Sif Aleph, before the end of Perek Aleph, before Perek Beis, they were very upset about the fact that the Ruach Tahara, the inspiration, was Paisekis, and he says, because this was a Yis'erus Malmayla Levad. Because it was a Yis'erus Malmayla Levad, you have to realize that even though you were riding high, and it was a Gewalt, and it was Moidedik, but don't mistake it. Don't think it remains there permanent. Sometimes a person is in a certain ambiance, and in the ambiance they feel elevated. Sometimes you hear a niggin. Sometimes you hear a shear. Sometimes you're in the presence of somebody. Sometimes it's a certain experience, and you feel mamash inspired. And the mistake you may make is you think you are mamash inspired. You're not. You feel inspired. You're not inspired, meaning you're inspired for the moment, but the inspiration belongs not to you. The inspiration belongs to something else.
You were born on third base.
Huh?
You were born on third base.
You were born on third base, yeah.
No, and they thought they hit a triple.
Very good. Very good. You were born on third base and you thought you hit a triple. And some people were born by the beginning and they think they scored a home run. Okay, that's I guess called mamash delusion, though. But you're on third base. Right? But you were born there, or they picked you up and they put you there. Huh?
So before we move on,
So verstehst the mashal. Verstehst the mashal. There's a game called baseball.
Big
They name a ball with a bat, and the Americans get very excited about it. Americans get very excited. There was a Russian chassid, he came out of Russia, he said, "Versteh nicht." He said, "Man nimmt a Stecken mit a Kartoffel, klappt the Kartoffel, man läuft und alle schreien." He didn't understand what's the big thing. So you run from first base to second base to third base. He says they put him on third base, and he thinks that he actually hit the ball so far that he managed to run. Because if they catch the ball, he's out, or if they touch him with the ball, he's also out. Huh? What? Who said? Okay. I'll call upon him. You wanted to ask something? You wanted to say something?
I wanted to ask
Oh,
something.
yeah.
So, in terms of, before he sort of made a big deal about being initiating. So, for example, he says here about the Isha Mazras Tchila Leos, Besalt Latata, Azayel Zochar, meaning that if you start doing the work that way. But he also says that it counts as the Gias Nefesh if he says Rak Mashin Asor Nafshal Yehorim Malmalav Lo Hechen Libo or Achar Kach.
Right.
In other words, it still counts as Asur
Yes.
Latata if it started as Asur
Right,
Latata.
yeah, you're right.
As long as you did the hachana to then continue the process.
There's two ways to introduce the gift of Isarus, to introduce the contribution of Isarus Lasata. One is it begins that way, or at least you respond after the Isarus Layla, you reciprocate.
And he doesn't distinguish.
You don't just ride the wave.
Right.
You create your own wave as a result of the wave that inspired you.
And there he doesn't talk about a nafkusa.
Right.
He doesn't necessarily
Right.
say that's
Yeah.
anyway inferior.
When he says the nafkusa, he means the nafkusa on its own. In other words, this Isarus La'ela is going to stay with you because you have a home for it. This Isarus La'ela is not going to stay with you because it's not part of you. The first Isarus La'ela came through you. In fact, you created it. You couldn't create it. You can't create it. Hashem has to create it, but you facilitated it. You created an opening for it. So when it comes down, it's like. To give an example, it's brought this example. It rains, but if you didn't plow and you didn't plant, you look at your neighbor's field. Ooh, look! It rained my field just like your field. He says, well, for months in the summer, geschwitzt. I was plowing and toiling and turning over, tilling the ground and planting. and doing everything you have to do. Now it rains. Oh, the rain has what to do. The rain could fertilize earth. The rain could make things grow. Because there was a service of the Lasata. If not, the rain is going to come. And you're going to get wet. And you're going to dance in the rain. But once the rain is over, nothing coming out of the earth.
Since you've heard from the Kutzkan,
yes, that's the word. The Kutzker Rebbe said, "V'hayu advarim eila asher noichim mitzav chayim alevavcha." The samtim is dvarim eila alevavcha. You don't put words on your heart. You say, "Dvarim hayotzim min alev nechnosim el alev," in the heart. Well, on the heart. I don't want to speak on your heart. I want to speak to your heart. You want to get it. V'hayu advarim eila bilevavcha, b'toich levavcha. We don't say v'aftas Hashem alekecha alevavcha b'chalevavcha. Suddenly here, it's alevavcha. So the Kotzker said, I mean, it's a little bit of a different angle, but the Vart is, he says, you can't always get things into your heart. It doesn't work. All you could expect is to put it on top of your heart. It piles up. But one day your heart is going to open. If there was something on top of the heart, when the heart opens, boom, it'll all go in. If there was nothing on top of the heart will open. The heart will open. The heart will open for a day, for a month, for a week, for an hour, for 20 minutes. So for those 20 minutes, you're going to be on fire. But nishtamid vas, you don't have what to hold on. You don't have, there's no achizah, and there's nothing that stays. There's no wick. There's no wick to hold down the fire. Yeah.
Like you hear music, you're singing with everyone. Everyone does. But you can't, but when after the music, you can't sing. You just don't have the...
That's true.
What do you do?
Music is very powerful. Music uplifts people.
But you can't.
Yeah, but don't attribute the music, the inspiration of the music, with yourself.
Right. What do you do when you don't have?
People are sometimes in an atmosphere. They want to be inspired so much, they deceive themselves that they are. But when they go home, they hit a very serious downer. They hit a very serious downer. And it becomes much more difficult than before. And remember, sensitive people who crave more inspiration and meaning because they're more sensitive or spiritually deep, it becomes much more difficult for them. Because they search for it, and they get something, and they grasp it, and they hold on to it like a fish for water or a person in need of oxygen. But then when they go into a different atmosphere, they experience emptiness, and the void becomes much more painful. This is what he's talking about. So Balatanya was telling his Talmidim, the Balei Havoidi was saying, let me explain to you what happened. It was Shiramalas B'Shuv Hashem Shiva Siyin Hayinu Kecholmem. It was a beautiful dream, but you woke up. The dream doesn't last forever. You woke up. So in a dream, you were in this magnificent place, and you were there, Taka, in your dream. But it was a dream. The dream may be a great dream, but it's not yours. I had a dream.
Right.
This is...
But still, if you start, only then it comes after. If you don't start, you have to wait till it comes. This is what it's... MS. That's another difference.
The question is, what's the difference between after a person being... having been doing this Yisrael Sat for a long time, it was a little bit like kacha, and after a while he starts getting more Yisrael.
Every Yisarusa de Lasata generates a result. The quality of the result is different. What type of result it's going to be, how fast it's going to come. There will be a result.
The question is the difference in the Yisrael Ayla. Let's say when a person has been working on himself more after a certain period of time, then he has more Yisrael Aylas. After a certain time.
There's an ongoing relationship.
Right, so what's the...
You also have to understand what Yisarus de Lasata means. Yisarus de Lasata doesn't mean self-torture. There's a process of Yisarus de Lasata. There was a Yid, he once came to Reb Simcha Binim of Pshischa. Some say on the Baal Shem Tov, but that, I think it was on the Pshischa. I mean, a lot of Sfarim is brought with him. And he said that he saw in Sfarim that if you do a certain amount of things, you have Gilui Eliyahu. Eliyahu reveals, and he did everything. He didn't have Gilui Eliyahu. He said, what did you do? He says, he ate grass for 40 days. That's what he lived on. He lived on grass, basically. And he did Gilgul Shelag. He rode in snow. And without Godim, the tiniest Segufim and this. And he didn't have Gilui Eliyahu. He walked without shoes. So they say that Simcha Shishka took him out to the back, and he pointed to something outside that was walking around, and he said, "Let me tell you about this one. You see, he's been eating grass not for 40 days, but for almost 40 years. He does Gilgul Sheleg every day, without clothes also, and he walks without shoes also, and he doesn't speak any Dvarim B'Teilim and no Lashon Hara and no Rechilas. He also doesn't have Gilul Eliyahu. You know why? Well, there's a ferd. Because he's a horse. No Lashon Hara, no Rechilas, no Dvarim B'Teilim, no Bittul Torah, nothing. And eats grass and does Gilul. As a ferd. Verstehst? So you have to understand that. Sometimes people, their spirituality is completely delusional. They decide they're going to reach Madregas, yeah? Especially Shoivavim. People get into this craze and they think they became holy suddenly. They don't have a mentor who knows them. Yeah? All their psychological issues come out. Right? They're dysfunctional emotionally, unfortunately. They don't like themselves. And they use these religious experiences as escapes. And after everything they have nothing. Because there was no process that's wholesome, that deals with integrity, that deals with who they really are. It's like this delusional God, delusional Judaism, they decide suddenly they're going to be the Baal Shem Tov, or in this one, I know they're going to be the Chafetz Chaim, this one is going to become the Vilna Gaon, this one is going to become the Pnei Yeshua, this one is going to become David HaMelech himself, regular V'ila Merkava. He's going to become a regular V'ila Merkava. You have to work with who you really are. So Sarus Lasata, you see what he said about Sarus Lasata. Sarus Lasata includes Hamakas Adas, Yigias Nefesh, Yigias Basar, Hamakas Adas, his brain and his Lev Nishbar. These are processes of Sarus Lasata.
What are the steps we do? Now let's get a little more out of philosophical philosophy and get a little more details. We have the main goal. We need to break it down to smaller goals.
That's where the work is.
Yeah. You want to know if you should roll in snow today without clothes? That's what you want to know?
Today's going to be a good day for that.
Okay. Noted. So therefore, on this, now we come back to the pasuk. That's the critical component to understand the opening of Parshas Vayikra. Adam ki Yakriv doesn't only refer alpinister to the man here. It refers to Adam ha'elyon. That's why it's Lashon Yachid, because it's Hashem. And that's why it's Lashon Nister, because it's Hashem. And that's why it's Adam, not any other word, not Ish, because it's Adam ha'elyon sh'ala kiseh. The way Kivayachal Hashem articulates within his infinity what's known as 248 organs, 10 svidas, through which he lights up Neshamas Yisrael and Oilamus. So all Yakriv happens from Adam Ha'elyon, because that is the inspiration that can relate to the soul, that can trigger the soul. So Adam, when Adam Ha'elyon decides he wants to be Makriv, the person, not the animal, the person, Adam Ki Yakriv, who? Mikem! Carbon Lashem, that's his Sarusa de La'ela. The pasuk says, don't fly, don't ride it, don't sit down on your couch and say, I made it. You know why? Because the moment the Adam Ki Yakriv stops, there's going to be nothing left. Right away, the next thing has to happen, Mina Behema, Mina Boka, Mina Tzoin, Takrivu es Karbanchem. First of all, we shift from Yachid to Rabbim, because now we're speaking about the people, not Hashem. Second of all, we shift from Lashon Nister to Lashon Noichach, because we're talking about, again, the people, not Hashem. And what do? We say, now that you were being Nikra from Adam, now you have to go to your Behema, your Baka, your Tzoin, and you have to bring your carbon, not his carbon. Adam Ki Yakriv is his carbon. It's his pulling you in. Takrivas Karbanchem is now your process, your internalization of it, your Isarusa de Lasata, following the Isarusa de La'ela, that is Takrivu es Karbanchem, following the Adam Ki Yakriv. And here suddenly the Behema was introduced. This is where the beginning of the Maimer and the Hemshech of the Maimer are going to converge. He started off with two souls, Nefesh Elikis, Nefesh Abamas. Suddenly he went into Isarusa de Lasata, Isarusa de La'ela, complete change of subject. But suddenly here in the pasuk we see the only way to respond to this Sarus D'Leila through a Sarus D'Lasata is by going to the Behema. That means the Sarus D'Lasata is always associated with a certain part of yourself. That's going to be now. So let's now see Vayikra inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines from the bottom, page 4, column 1. Okay. We did a few. Well, let me just read a few lines before. V'zeu eitza toiva mimenu yizbarach shemiyad be'eis rotzen zeh. Asher nimshach melmayla yisayridus lohoyridus nefesh ha'adam. Take it from miyad. Tov vav mem yudis. Take it from miyad. Right away. Taschilu atem gamken lohoyridus erusa l'sata gamken. Dahainu l'chafyu l'hapches midas nefesh ha'bahamis. V'u'inyin takrivu es karban chem shul min ha'behema min ha'bakar chulik edel. You immediately have to work with what? The midos of your animal soul. Why do we have 3 words? Behema, bakar, tzoyin? Well, you have 3 animals? He's going to discuss. This is consistent with a pasuk in Shir HaShirim. It's a beautiful pasuk in Shir HaShirim. You remember the pasuk? Moshcheni acharecha narutza. Moshcheni, draw me in. After you, we shall run. Grammatically, we have a problem here. Moshcheni is Lashon Yachid or Rabim? Yachid. Narutza is Rabim. Pull me in, after you, we shall run. After you, I shall run. Draw me in, acharecha arutza. So the Balatanya says, you have to understand the pasuk. It's 2 separate experiences. Pirush kashetim shecheni bisarusa delayla. I'm asking you, draw me in with this arusa delayla. Draw me in. Azai miyad acharecha norutza. Immediately, we're also going to run. We're not just going to rely on the fact somebody picks you up and says, "Come, let me schlep you," and they take you. You remember when you were a child, you didn't want to walk home, so your father took you by the hands and he schlepped you. I mean, in a positive sense. He lifted you up and you don't have to walk. You don't have to run. He says, Moshcheni. What we're going to do is Acharecha Narutza. We're going to run also. Azay miyad Acharecha Narutza. Avadim lo yisametz lavad avedos levar nefesh habahamis. A person won't toil. He won't put in the oimetz. Oimetz means the strength, the courage, to work on his animal soul, to refine it. Azay. Av shenim shechisarusa de'le'el lo'ir nefesh halakis lo'iyah lazakiyam v'asmadim. Even though Yisarus D'Leila came down to trigger the godly soul, it will not endure, nor will it be perpetuated. It won't have hasmada. Hasmada comes from the word tmidius, consistency. There won't be consistency. It's going to fade away into oblivion. Why? Because he pulled me in, but I didn't run. So as long as I'm being pulled and drawn and triggered, I'm on fire. But the moment the Eis Ratzon ceases, I'm back to my regular self. Acharecha narutza means I'm going to use the Moshcheni to start running. That's why you go from Lashon Yachid to Lashon Rabim, as we shall see. Because the narutza must include not only the godly soul, but also the animal soul. But if right away when the Adam Ha'elyon is makriv from you a carbon, what does it mean? He picks you up, he brings you closer to him by making you feel his presence. If right away, when this is Arusa de La'ela, and the whole purpose is only to be Ma'ir this Arusa de La'sat. Don't think this Arusa de La'ela is there stam, to give you a high. It's there to create a reference point of where you're capable of getting. But it's not here as a separate objective. It's here as a Heksha mitzvah. So Arusa de La'ela is always a Heksha mitzvah. Don't make that the reality. It's only a preparation for reality. If right away, as I take it from Miyata Schilu Gam Atem, Lahakriv es Karbanchem in Abehema Chuli. What's Chuli? Chuli is min Abakim and Atzoyin. As I Yiyeh Dover Amiskayim. Now it will endure. After the parentheses, a footnote from the Tzemach Tzedek, and now after the parentheses, a few lines later. V'hinei korban zeh shetakrivu atemu min Abehema. Now he's going to answer your question. This korban that you're makriv always comes from the behema. Adam ki Yakriv is not the behema. Adam ki Yakriv is mikem. Isarusa de La'ela is not the behema. It's mikem. Isarus l'sat has always been a behema. Mashenkin adam ki yakriv, hine ha-carbon hu mikem. There's two carbonas. The carbon that Hashem brings you close is mikem. He's going to you. When you're bringing the carbon, Isarus l'sat, you got to go min ha-behema. What's pshat? V'hainu k'moshin is bayar la'el. Now we come back to what we explained, and it'll all be clear. Shebechol echad yesh b'chinas nefesh ha'lekis v'nefesh ha'bahamas. Every person has a divine soul and an animal soul. Now the analysis is going to become a complete analysis because we're going to reveal a new layer now of what's going on. V'hinei be'inyan adam ke Yakriv shu yisarisa de'leila nimshach mal mayla lo eiru l'hakriv nefesh adam shalamato hinei ha'orezu magia l'nefesh ha'lekis levad. Whenever there's an adam ke Yakriv, whenever there's an yisarisa de'leila that comes from above to trigger and inspire the human soul below to Hashem, this awakening reaches only the godly soul. Shu chelek eloka mimal. Because it's a piece of Hashem above. V'nikra neir havaya nishmas. The pasuk says in Mishlei that the neshama of a person is neir Hashem. It's the lamp of Hashem, the candle of Hashem. Shehi b'chinas adam nasa adam b'tzalmeinu kidmaseinu. The nefesh elokis, that's the adam in the person. Because it says about the adam, Hashem said, make man in our image. In other words, this is the neshama, the nefesh elokis. That's what makes us an adam, which is a chelek elokam imal. It's called b'tzalmeinu kidmaseinu. K'vayachal, it's b'tzelem elokim, because it reflects elokus. Every soul has natural love because of its source, and the makar, the origin from which it was chutzah, from which it was carved out or chiseled out, or you rakshihi musteres. It's just that this ava is concealed. The ava may remain concealed, and you have to actualize it from concealment to revelation. Al kain. Thus, the Isarusa de La'ela helps that this pre-existing love should explode, should emerge, should come out. That the person experiences oneness with Hashem, literally like a flame in the presence of a bonfire. When you have a huge bonfire and you have a little flame and the flame is close to the bonfire, what will happen? The bonfire will swallow up the flame and the flame will become subsumed by the avuka. Kineir b'fnei avuka. Every neshama is a neir. It's already a neir. The neir is burning. Neir Hashem nishmas adam, it's burning. It has a fire. There's inspiration there, there's love. But the love could be revealed, the love could be concealed. We don't always know what we love. Sometimes in a time of crisis you see that you love things that you thought you didn't like, and you see that you don't love that which you thought you loved. It's not so clear what people love. Love operates on different levels. There's what you love consciously, there's what you love subconsciously, there's what you hate consciously, what you hate subconsciously, or what you hate superconsciously, or what you love superconsciously, whether you want to call it sub or super, whatever, that depends on how you want to discuss Kesser, if it's lower, if it's higher. But generally speaking, there's always an Ava. Because there's always an Ava, there's a ray, there's a surge, there's a fire. But the fire could be concealed. When Hashem gives a ha'orim al-maila, what happens? He basically brings the avuka in. He basically lights a fire in your heart. So now what? He lights a fire in your life. So what happens? The neir gravitates. And the neir suddenly gets a new lease on life. It gets a new wind. Because it experiences the avuka. The neir goes up, it ascends, and it melts away in the avuka. This is the dveikus, the intimacy with Hashem that one experiences during Isarusa Delayla. Who gets triggered? What gets triggered? The chelek eloka mimal gets triggered. Because it's already a chelek eloka mimal. So elokus speaks to elokus. The Rebbe Rashab, when he was a child, this is the 5th Rebbe of Lubavitch, he used to play with his older brother, whose name was Reb Zalman Aaron, the Razah. So you know, kids play house, tati, mami. So they played a game of Rebbe and Chassid, because that's what they grew up with. So the older brother was the Rebbe, and the younger brother, the Rashab, who later became the Rebbe, Rashab was the Chassid. So he went in, and Chassidim and Chabad, they would ask questions, what's called Haskalah and Avodah. Haskalah meant ideas, and Avodah meant, your own life, avodas Hashem. So he said he's going to ask a question in Haskalah, and the little kids, like 4 or 5 years old. So his question in Haskalah was, "Vos is Ayid? What's a Jew?" So Reb Zalman Aaron, his older brother, said, "Ayid is fire. A Jew is fire." So he said, "Why, when I touch you, don't I get burnt?" He says, "Weil du bist euch fire. Und wenn fire rührt an fire, wird man nicht verbrennt." You're also fire. When fire touches fire, it doesn't get burnt. It becomes part of the fire. Then he asked a second question, if you want to know, in Avodah, Balatanya Paskins in his Siddur, not in the Shulchan Aruch, that you shouldn't crack nuts on Shabbos. He says there's too much boirer and too much muktzah that comes out of it. So even though halachically there's ways, but because it's hard, so you shouldn't crack nuts on Shabbos. That's his psak in the Siddur. Huh? Yeah, it's nicht zene Chabad, no sandwichkas on Shabbos. Never, nobody cracks nuts. The Balatanya says in the Siddur, Lizoyim ma'oid, not to crack nuts. That's what he paskins in the Siddur. Shulchan Aruch, he follows the regular halacha. You could crack nuts on Shabbos. So the Rashab said that last Shabbos he forgot. He was 4 years old and he cracked a nut on Shabbos. So his brother gave him a tikkun, because he told him what to do, to be masakin it. So when he finished, he says, "Du bist nicht kein Rebbe. You're not a Rebbe." He's 4 years old. He says, "Vavos nicht? Why not?" He says, "Because you didn't give a krechts before you gave me the tikkun. You didn't give a sigh. You just right away had a tikkun." He said, "If you would be a real Rebbe, first you would sigh, and then you would give a tikkun." He says, "You were like a computer. You had a tikkun." He says, "Bist nicht kein Rebbe. Bist nicht kein Rebbe." So, fire, what am I bringing out here? Fire touches fire. The neshama is fire. When the big fire comes in, the small fire comes to life. It feels, it's min, in halach you would say, min b'minoi, choyzer v'neir. The neshama is elikus, it's a chelik elikamima. B'shas, Hashem, the source of the fire, enters into this person's mind during this Eis Ratzon, the nefesh elikis is now burning. What's the issue here? The issue is, he says, Avol ha-nefesh ha-bahamis, shekvar yorda, uklula mitoy v'ra, ruba kekula ra, lo shayach b'loy makein. But the animal soul, you can't say this. You can't say on the animal soul that when the avuka comes in, the animal soul just melts away. V'lachein, afim nimshach isarusa de la'ela, ein ze shayichis l'nefesh ha-bahamis v'haguf. So what happens here is, this is the key. Isarusa de la'ela never relates not to the body and not to the animal soul. Ki agam shiruach adam lamayla, even though the pasuk in Kehela says the spirit of man goes up, im kol zehi behema v'yeredes lamata. The pasuk continues. Ruach adam lamayla, the ruach ha-behema is yeredes lamata. So in a person, the ruach ha-adam, the nefesh elikis, when it feels the fire, the avuk, it's oila lamayla. The chelik elikami mal meets its father. It melts. It becomes one in that intimacy. The nefesh ha-bahamis it's on its own trip. It has its own identity. Im kol zei behema v'yeredes lamata. So therefore, now we understand that the sarusa de la'ela, it's not pshat stam, that because you didn't prepare for it, it's not going to last. Why not? He says you have to understand the dynamics here. Because the Sarusa de Leila touched a certain part of you. The part of your nefesh elikis, your chelik elikamimal, that went crazy. That went ballistic in a positive sense. It became on fire from the Sarusa de Leila. The nefesh ha-bahamis dimension of you was never touched. So the fire from Hashem, it triggered, maybe for the first time, that you should feel your nefesh elikis. And therefore, you're very inspired. But the identity of you, in terms of your body and your animal soul, that wasn't affected. It wasn't affected at all. It wasn't even touched. I mean, you can't say it wasn't affected at all. It was somehow part of the experience. But it wasn't affected in a genuine way. There was no dent made inside of it.
Engaged.
It wasn't engaged. And you can't expect it to be engaged. Why? Because this was a divine experience. Because you are divine, divine experiences speak to your divine soul. But there's also a part of you that doesn't experience itself as divine. Even though in its source, the Nefesh HaBahamis comes from a very lofty place, he says, yeah, but it went through a whole process of Yerida. Well, Paul, now it's a behemoth. It's not anymore what it used to be. That's going to be the process of birur. You have to sublimate, you have to work with it. So now when the Sarisa de Le'ela ends, what are you left with? The Chelik Elikami Mal goes back into hiding, because the Nefesh HaBahama says, okay, the show is over, the circus is over, back to life. Back to life, I'm an animal, I don't know what you're talking about. So the Nefesh HaBahama says, what do you mean you just saw? I didn't see anything. You had a nice cholam, shecholmu achedim al achedim, you could write it up, if you want to sell it, you could sell it, just give me the money. The Nefesh HaBahamis it never spoke to it. It was never part of the experience. Why? Because by definition, the Chelik Elikami Mal is subsumed in the Avuka of Elikus. The Nefesh HaBahamis has its own identity. To work with the Nefesh HaBahamis is a whole different process. That's the process of Jerusalem. Now you have to know its conversation. Now you have to know its conversation. Which right here, you become a witness to a major debate that took place in the first generations of Chassidus. A major machloikus in the hashkafas olam of the world of Pnimius, the world of Chassidus. The world of Kabbalah, the world of Chassidus, the world of, so to speak, emotional inspiration. There was a major debate that is being addressed here. Of course, it's being addressed here very subtly and being addressed here kedarkai through his understanding of what the derech of Avodas Hashem is. But here is a key issue being conveyed. And the big question was, say, if somebody is being inspired tremendously by being, say, in the presence of a holy Jew, a real tzaddik, and by being in the presence of a real tzaddik, you see kedusha, and when you see it, you get inspired. For many, that seemed the ultimate peak of spiritual inspiration. You're on fire. The Baal HaTanya said, no, nothing happened. Nothing happened. If you don't go back to your animal soul and have serious daily conversations with it, you're on fire, but nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. You have a nefesh halikis, and your nefesh halikis was fired up. But the you, which is the nefesh habahamas and the guf, or at least a major part of you, is completely unaffected. From this evolved two major schools of how Torah Baal Shem Tov was taught, and the dramatic results were not seen then. The dramatic results are seen today. And this we'll explore, God willing, tomorrow.
It sounds like if I take this to...
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.